quiz restrictions. Let's walk through the quiz restrictions tab. So the first and foremost thing here we want to look at is availability. So what you want to do is you want to make the quiz active on that. And that way it'll show up in the quizzes and they'll be able to click on it. If it's not active, the students cannot click on the quiz and take the quiz. So this is a pretty important one right here. We can also set start dates and end dates on this, and we can have it displayed in the D2L calendar. So we can set those right here. We have additional release conditions, so you can create special conditions. So maybe if you got different groups, you can release the quiz to particular groups on that. Optional restrictions, so if it's not shown, you can expand them out here. So you can put a password on the quiz. This is sort of handy here on that. So if there's special things that you want to talk about the quiz or on that, sometimes I do this in a class. I'll actually password protect the quiz, and then that way I'll put a password on it, and I'll give the password out in class. And that way if someone calls up there and says, hey, what's the password on that, it sort of forces them, if they've missed class, to talk to me on that. So that's sort of a way to use that password on there. An IP restriction. If you wanted them to, the student to take the test or the quiz, like say from an on-campus computer, you could do that, or from a specific bank of computers. And what you do is you put the specific IP addresses or a range within this part here. Best thing to do on this, if you're interested in doing this, is to contact the IP or the computer techs here within the campus, and they can give you the sort of range of where those computers are at for the IP addresses. Most of the time you won't have to deal with this, but the password is sort of handy at times if you really want to add an extra layer of protection onto the quiz or not. Now let's talk timing. Okay, so this is done in minutes here. So like this one's actually shown for taken for 2 hours. Okay, and we can enforce the time limit by clicking enforce, and whether or not to show the clock. I always like to show the clock on that, so it lets the student know where they're at on there. On that. Now enforced, what this actually ties to are these two options down here for late submissions on that. So we'll come back here real quick here. Grace period. So before, you got basically you're saying, okay, they can go 125 minutes before it's flagged as late on that. So they get a 5-minute, grace period on here. And one more thing about sort of setting time limits on there. If someone's got a slow internet connection on there, you may want to give them a little more time on that, because those questions have to come down from a server and across the wire on that. So you may want to take account in that may be a factor. Now let's talk about late submissions. Okay, so let's say you put the 120 minute time limit on here, and you leave it as allow normal submission. So basically, they see the clock on that. Okay, there is no penalty for going past the 120-minute mark on allow normal submissions. Okay, so it's automatically, if you've got, so it's automatically graded or whatever, it will be graded. It will automatically go in there, and you'll see it shown as late in the grade book or in the grading. Okay, now use of the late limit. Okay, so if you want to use the late limit, this is how this works. The enforced checkbox has to be checked. Okay, so if it's checked here, then this will then kick in and apply. So this is okay after 1 minute passed. So you're looking at 126 minutes. That will now be flagged as late. And so what happens when it happens as late, then they can still submit it anytime at past the 126 minutes. Okay, but what that's going to do is it's going to flag it as late in the grading on there, and it will automatically give the student a 0. Okay, so you have the option as the instructor to go back and change that grade. Okay, so the use of the late limit means that they can still submit it. If they wanted to take 4 hours, okay, they still could do it on that, but it's automatically going to give the student a 0 for the quiz, and it's going to flag it late for you, for the instructor on that. And then you as the instructor can go back and change the grade. Okay. auto submit. Okay, once again, enforced checkbox, okay, has to be checked. And what this says on here is once the 125 minutes are up, okay, it will submit all of the questions that have been answered up to that point on that, and then they're done. So at 126 minutes, you know, if they've completed 28 out of the 30 questions, guess what? That's it. They have no choice in the matter. It's automatically done. So allow normal submission. You know, it doesn't matter how much time they have on that. They can go past. They can take, you know, they can do it within 120 minutes. They can take, you know, the 2 hours. They can take 3 hours. They can take 8 hours on that. It doesn't really, it ignores the clock. The late limit, what it does on there, once it goes late, it will give the student a 0 on that. It'll be flagged as late in your grading, so you have the option as the instructor to go back and change that grade. And in the auto submit, once again, the enforced has to be checked, and this will no matter where they're at in the quiz, wherever they're at, when that time is up, it will automatically submit those questions, and they're done, period. Now, the last part down here, advanced availability. You can allow selected users special access to the quiz, or only users with special access to see the quiz. So you can narrow the population of the quiz and say, okay, only that, or you can set up several different conditions to that. So add users to the special access. This is tying to that option here. So if someone actually had to come in there and maybe they were sick on a day, or you know, they were ill or whatever, and they passed the deadline date, you could actually open that up to them here with the add users to special access. And then when you're done, you can hit save, or if you're all the way done, you can hit save and close. And that is the restrictions tab in quizzes.